What a game. Danis Jenkins is an absolute monster. We'll react to the Pistons' 7th straight win tonight against the Washington Wizards in just a moment. Welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. On today's episode, we are going to talk about this wild game against the Washington Wizards in Detroit at LCA. So many incredible storylines. The Pistons end up winning their 9th game of the season, 135 to 137 in overtime off the back of some absolute heroics from Danis Jenkins. A two-way player, mind you, that before tonight, I reckon there's even portions of the Pistons fan base who weren't familiar with him, but after tonight, not only are Pistons fans familiar with Danis, but the general NBA fan will know his name now. After putting up 24 points, a career high on national TV, on Peacock, and draining two of the clutchest threes of the season in the last 5 seconds of the game to send this to overtime. We'll go through the game throughout this video and some of the key storylines, but I can't not just talk about Danis for a couple of minutes here. Like I said, the career high in points, 24 minutes, everything's probably a career high for him tonight. He played 34 minutes, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 56% from the field. This game was up and down the entire night for the Pistons, and it was starting to trend to a Pistons loss. I'll be honest, I was pretty much ready to say they were going to lose this game, even towards the end of the third quarter. I just didn't think they had the energy. We'll talk about Cade in a moment, but he looked exhausted. Everything he shot was short, but the starters and the players that played bulk minutes last night in Philly just didn't look like they had their legs. They weren't as switched on defensively. The Wizards put up nearly 40 points in the first quarter. They just looked tired, and Danis came in. And I want to shout out Paul Reed and Javonte Green as well. But Danis in particular, just energy and motor was to the max the whole time. And even if they didn't win this game tonight, I would be singing his praises, because in that third quarter and fourth quarter, when it looked like this game was slipping and it looked like Cade and some of the other starters were not ready to pack it in, but just looked exhausted and almost ready to just be like, all right, we probably don't have it tonight. Let's just get through this game and, we'll lose, but we'll move on to the next one. But Danis came in, gave them life. Just his ability to get into the paint and finish, whether it was over Bagley, Alex Sarr, particularly in that fourth quarter, just so much relied on Cade for the first 2.5, 3 quarters in this one for him to make and create all the looks for this team because of the amount of players they had out, and which we'll get to in a moment. But Danis really stepped up in the last quarter and a half, got into the paint, made the Wizards defend, and then was able to knock down a couple of threes. What did he finish from 3 tonight? He hit 4 of 6 from deep, and then 2 of those were just absolutely incredible in the dying stages of the game to send it to overtime in probably that one to tie it up and send it to overtime is probably the most shocked I've ever been watching a Pistons game, that moment, because I didn't know who was going to get the shot, but he got the ball. I'm not sure the play was ran for him. It looked like some things broke up. Jalen Duren ends up falling on the ground near Duncan Robinson. It looked like they were trying to run something there, but Cade finds Danis in the corner with pretty much a second left, lets it fly, and just swishes it. And it was just incredible. After only 5 seconds before, swishing it to make it a 2-point ball game. Keontae George, before that overtime buzzer beater, he makes 1 of 2 of the line to put him up 3. And then, like I said, Danis closed the deal to send it to overtime and just was incredible. I don't have many more words for him. Just so happy for him. He's a guy that's been on a 2-way contract for the past 2 seasons. And honestly, even after his Summer League performance this past July, probably is a guy that should be on a regular deal. But he's very humble. Listening to him speak in the post game, he's just, he believes in himself, but he even said himself he has confidence, but it's in a way that's not arrogant. He just has a lot of self-belief because of the work he puts in. And for him to get real minutes and deliver like this was incredible. Because like I said, the Pistons tonight were without Tobias Harris, Isaiah Stewart, Asar Thompson, Karis LeVert, Marcus Sasser, Jaden Ivey. Obviously, they've been out for most of the season, but they were very short-handed tonight. So yes, it was the Wizards, but in terms of who they had available, second night of a back-to-back, I'll take a win tonight. And the way they did it was just an amazing night. I don't think any Pistons fan is going to be sitting there being like, I don't really care. It's against the Wizards. They should win. Because if you watch the game and understood the context, like that's a huge win. And that's like a culture win that goes back to the next man up mentality this team has. But yeah, shout out to Danis. Drop below comments on him. He's just incredible and he deserves this. So hopefully this is just the beginning of a very long, successful NBA career as a role player and beyond for him. And hopefully it's with Detroit. But the next player I want to talk about is Cade Cunningham. Had a career high, 46 points. Also on a career high, 45 shots. Ends up with a triple-double. And he played 45 minutes. Had 5 steals, 2 blocks. Shot 14 of 45. But honestly, I don't care. He needed to shoot at least 35 of those. There was a couple of shots there in the third where I was like, man, he looks like he's packing it in a little bit. He was settling a bit more, but I think he was just exhausted because of the game the night before. But yeah, apart from 5 shots, he played an exceptional game. Got to the line 18 times, hit 16. Only had 2 turnovers. Some of the efficiency nerds will probably be like, here's a shot chucker. I think 31 missed field goals is the most missed field goals by an NBA player in history. But if you understood the context, watched the game, and realized how many normal rotation players were out of the lineup, it's pretty easy to see how that's his final stat line. And just incredible. Really picked it up in the fourth quarter, especially once Danis, they really got some momentum going on the defensive end. Cade started getting into the paint, scoring. He stepped up in overtime. And I wouldn't say it was like a game you watch start to finish and he was amazing, but he stepped up in key moments, and just having him make decisions every time down the floor is always a bonus and always a good thing. And he didn't turn it over. I think he missed 6 layups that he would easily make if he wasn't, exhausted and carrying such a big load. And a lot of his threes, he even airballed a 3, you could just tell he's tired. So, but he stepped up. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's a stat out there that him and Michael Jordan are the only players to ever put up 46 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists in a win. So, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did something tonight only Michael Jordan's done. So we'll leave it at that. But awesome game from him. Moving on, have to talk about Javonte Green. This guy, Danis Jenkins got them to overtime with some extremely ridiculous shot making and clutch play. And then Javonte Green, with the Pistons, they were up by 3 points. And Javonte Green blocks CJ McCollum's corner 3-point look that I thought he was getting that off cleanly. And Javonte Green, who's a very good athlete, comes out of nowhere, gets a fingertip on it. BBALL Paul's able to grab the rebound, and the Pistons get 2 free throws with, I think there's 4 seconds left. Now, BBALL Paul unfortunately missed both, but in the end, CJ McCollum was on an absolute tear. As the Pistons were making runs throughout this entire game in the second half, every time they get it to 6, CJ would hit a 3 to put it back to 9. They'd get it back to 5, hit another 3 to get it back to 8. They'd get it back to 7, CJ would hit a floater. He just kept making timely buckets. And it felt like he was going to nail that corner 3. And as soon as I saw the way that ball was spinning, I was like, someone's gotten a finger on that. And Javonte Green blocked 2 jumpers from what I saw in that corner at key moments. He had a double-double, 11 points, 11 rebounds. I've spoken about it a fair bit on this show, but his rebounding for a guy that's only 6'4" is really, really impressive. And He played 38 minutes. That's his first start with the team. And yeah, made some key shots, had that dunk at the end after JD's offensive rebound where you kind of felt like, all right, I think they're going to win this now. It was a huge tomahawk dunk. Like, he was exceptional. Who else should we get to here? I got to shout out Duncan Robinson quickly. He hit the three to put the Pistons ahead by 1 point in overtime with about 2 minutes to go, I want to say, after the Wizards had gotten up by 3. And it was a little bit worrying there. They were like, is this going to slip? Are they going to finally run out of gas? But down 2, Duncan hits a huge 3 at the top of the arc to put them up by 1. And I don't think the Pistons gave up the lead in overtime. So have to highlight that. B-Ball Paul, relentless energy. They needed every bit of it tonight. To be honest, I would have preferred to see him in there over JD, especially in that overtime. I just thought he was defending Sarr a little bit better. I can see why they went with Duran just for the rebounding in general, because he does secure boards a little bit better than B-Ball Paul. But I think Paul can handle a guy like Sarr, especially better on the perimeter. And I thought Sarr gave JD some issues throughout the night, but didn't end up mattering. But I just thought B-Ball Paul's energy was amazing tonight. And he did what he does, where he comes in, makes plays. Whether he plays 13 minutes like tonight, 1 minute, or 30 minutes. Like, he just always comes in and makes an impact. I want to shout out Chaz Lanier in the second quarter, had 8 points. The Pistons were playing okay at this stage, but for him to come in, he played 26 minutes. Thought he had some really good defensive reps. He solid again. Even Bobby Clintman in his second quarter minutes, or I can't remember if it was the first quarter or second quarter. This game was so long. He made a 3 and had a couple of nice passes. So that's everything from me. We've got some team news, but I think I'll save that for tomorrow's episode. I want this one just to be about the Pistons' 7th straight win, an update on kind of where they sit in the league. They have the 4th best rated defense. They're now up to the 15th ranked offense. They've more so been around that 17th, 18th before tonight. And they have the 6th best net rating. Best record in the East. 2 games clear of the New York Knicks at 9-2. And the 2nd best record in the entire NBA. So another incredible win. Just loving every second of this, not taking any of it for granted, because this team feels like, I don't know what the limit is for them. I'm still not going to say championship, but outside of that, if they're the best team in the East right now, and I can't see them really slowing down, especially as they get more healthier, because the schedule still is pretty favorable this side of the new year. It's next year where they have a lot more West Coast trips, a lot more road games, and it really picks up. So hopefully they can get more healthy and continue to win the games they should, even with injuries. Fingers crossed Cade's coccyx bone or tailbone is okay, because Cam Whitmore fouled him really hard. It was a bit of a dirty play, the way he stood over him, but regardless of that, Cade responded and the Pistons got the last laugh. But fingers crossed he's okay to go, because if he's not okay to go, I might be a little bit worried. But hopefully Asar's back. Hopefully we get some updates on those injured players tomorrow. But amazing win, Pistons fans. Appreciate you all for watching. But until next time, as always, go Pistons.